Alright, I thought I would make a selection of images that I've searched up on Google search trends, and this is one of those things that you have to use the exact right text for. If you're missing a letter, or you're adding a letter that doesn't exist, or you get one letter missing off, like an L instead of an I, or something like that, or a Y instead of an I, it doesn't work. So these have to be the exact search terms. And I guessed at these about 65 times, and I think I've got about 45 different pictures of these search terms. And you'll notice the right hand side of this particular image is a lot of searching JD Vance recently. But if you notice on the left hand side, there's a little blip. And you'll notice the search term JD Vance. And you'll notice that it's 2004 to present search dates. And you'll also notice it's in my home province of British Columbia. Now I'm going to see if this works. I'm clicking on Kamala Harris Prophet as well now. And I'm going to see when that opens and see if it'll transfer the image over to her. Okay, let's see if this works. That's kind of weird. Oh, it's just working. It's taking some time. Okay, let's try it this way. I close the image file thing. I'm gonna open up a different one separately. And it should pop up. There you go. Again, there's a small blip back then. And let's see if this works. Okay. So this is an image of a character from the manga comic Billy Bat. My first name is Kevin. This character's first name is Kevin. The searches were done 2 months before Billy Bat even existed. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe there was some advertisement or something like that. And keep in mind, these are based on my memories of searching them myself, which is why I got a 70% hit rate on. I thought I searched it, and then I looked up the Google search trends exact terminology, and then found it 70% of the time on like 45 different events. Then you have Ultra Instinct Goku, and this matches up too. You'll notice there's going to be a trend in this where there's only like 3 or 4 out of 45 that are from 2009 to 10. But most of it's 2004 to 2008, with a lot of them in August, which is personally relevant because that's when my ex-girlfriend left me. So it's kind of weird that these things occur. Then there's So Soon to Fearin', and that's you can see how there's some search terms right around the right hand side recently when it came out, and then there's a spike there. My friend told me to search it one time at my house, and something about him searching the terms so that they spike doing it himself. Again, Vermintide. It came out on the first spike, or second spike in the middle-ish. and it was searched way before then. Again, it's British Columbia, my home province. Barden is a dwarf in the game Vermintide. And that is approximately 2008-ish that it was searched, or 2009 early on. Now, as you can see, George Floyd was also searched back then. Now, granted, he was in the newspaper in 2004, but this is what my friend told me to search as well. And by the way, none of this is my own prophetic capabilities. It was from a friend that told me what I swear was the future and so on. In terms of like him telling me what was going to happen in regards to what's already happened, and then telling me to search on Google these terms so that there will be a prophetic record for those who believe in that sort of thing at all. Now this one's a little different. Ruiner Psychopath. One of my favorite games I've ever played is called Ruiner, and before I realized or remembered that I searched Ruiner Psychopath, the game came out around 2017, and this picture is of looking for it around 2005-ish, maybe 2004-ish, and the trailer that sold Ruiner to me, the launch trailer, is about a guy who loses it all and then gets it all back, with a woman who pretends she cares, and talks him down a little bit and so on, and then says, if you survive this, meet me where heaven falls. And I've lost almost everything I could have. There was a woman that made me feel on cloud 9, and then she dumped me. But the promise of my friends was that she'd come back eventually. Now, what does psychopath have to do with it? Well, in the description of the Ruiner trailer, it talks of a wired sociopath lashing out against a corrupt society. So it's not one-to-one, psycho-sociopath, but it's very close. And also on top of that, for closeness, I had a skinnier friend in a group of friends, and a more fat kind of guy, slightly, in my group of friends. And there was a woman who was friends with us with a relatively deformed face. And if you check out the image of the three people, they kind of match up in a rough, very rough kind of way. But so it's circumstantial evidence and so on. Okay, that's the wrong picture. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Now, Okay, one second. I'm running into the technical difficulties here. Let's remove the images. Let's um, add window capture, and let's add this image. There we go. Okay. So who's Kevin Goodman? Well, I mentioned the Kevin Yamagata one, who's part of Billy Bat, and my name is Kevin. And I swear, a prophetic friend told me the future, and then that I've had a few prophetic dreams, some visions of the world, and synchronicity. You know, but who is this Kevin? And the answer is, it's the second main character of Billy Bat, Kevin Yamagata being the first. And he also tells the future through his artwork, from getting it from Billy Bat. Now this is a I've cropped out the name of the person that I was looking up on purpose, but if you find the name somehow, you know, kudos to you basically, because I don't know how you could do it, but it's her name, my ex-girlfriend's name, and you'll notice there's a period after the breakup where I looked at her up to see if she's doing okay or if anything happened to her, something like that. Because I was worried that when this prophetic stuff started, I was like, I'm remembering various things they said, and they kind of gave me a bunch of flack and chaff as well, of negative things and so on, before eventually saying it was mostly just to humble me and so on. But if you notice, 2008, she would have been a lot younger then, and definitely not in my interest range back then. I didn't even know she existed back then, but like I was just like, oh, I was told the name, I better look it up. Because my prophetic friend told me to look it up. Now this is if you don't know, 2014 is Euromaidan, and this was searched in 2011. And that tells you something about the nature of such a beast, because I was looking it up 3 years before it even existed, because my prophetic friend told me to. And here we have Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, and I remember looking this up because my friend told me to, and so on. It's kind of weird, but you know, it is what it is, and that's about right. You know, he's been important a little bit. He's popped up a little bit around 2010-ish or something, a little bit here and there. But, you know, 2004 is the first time, and that was me. I didn't even know who he was. I just knew that well, I mean, I was told he's Canada's Prime Minister, and I was like, what are you talking about? No, it's Chrétien or Harper. I can't remember which. Now, I'm not sure if Short Fat Otaku actually started his channel in 2006, but yeah, I was told to look it up, and I did, and that was around the time. I think he actually started on the second spike. Now, this one should be obvious to anyone that follows Sargon. Oh. It's doing that thing again. Let's see if I can fix it. Sorry, it only lets me do like 5 pictures or something before it reverts to black screen on a single window. There we go. So if you don't know, the second small spike is when his name got doxed and revealed. And that search, the first big one, is when I was told to look him up, basically. And I did. And by the way, this is before his YouTube channel even existed. So that's kind of a thing. And if you don't believe that's really spooky, wait until you see the next picture. Here's the next picture. Now this is January 2010, but he made his channel in October 2010. So I was looking up Sargon of Akkad YouTube and Carl Benjamin a year or two before he actually was making a YouTube channel. And there's a little bump to John Wick right around April 2009. That's me again, looking it up because I was like, who's John Wick? What's so good about him? Looking it up, wondering what's going on. And if you notice, the beginning of the regular searches is when the first movie came out, like 4 or 5 years later. If you notice, The Last Jedi came out in 2017, roughly. And I was looking it up. On the same month, my ex-girlfriend dumped me. 10 years before she dumped me. And The Last Jedi came out. So that's kind of like a thing. And if you don't believe it, here's another one. I'm looking up Kylo Ren in 2006 of March. So there's a character in the movie that I looked up. Donetsk and Luhansk, that's the areas that Russia and Ukraine are generally fighting over. You'll notice there's a blip in 2014 and there's a blip in 2022 or something, or 2020-ish or something, roughly when the war started and Euromaidan happened and so on. But there's a huge spike way early on. Again, Pete Hegseth. That's me again, looking it up before it became ever important to other people. And some of these get a little esoteric. Like you have to type in exactly the right letters, none missing, no different letters at all from the search that was actually done to find it. And this is, and notice how these are all in my home province. There's none in a different place. This is all in my home province where I remember doing them in my own home province. So again, K-pop Demon Hunters, December 2007. and it only came out around 2025. Zero Sievert, one of my favorite games to play when I've got some time to kill. Just a little bit of mindless fun, but it's kind of cool. Lotus Eaters podcast. Notice when that was searched. Helldivers. You can see there's a little blip when Helldivers 1 emerged. There's a big spike when Helldivers 2 emerged. And there was a search for Helldivers back in 2006 again. Flexing on the search term complexity while having no errors in spelling. Once again, there's a huge spike of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, which is an MMORPG that's currently in development or like soon to be released or something. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's already released. But it piqued my interest, and you'll notice the big spike again. And when it came out, and this thing's been in development for like, at most 8 years, basically, I think. So it's not like it's it's about, at most it would be like 2017 or 2015 that it was started to be worked on in earnest. And I was searching it in 2008. Mists of Pandaria, World of Warcraft. You'll notice again the first search for it, 2008, when Wrath of the Lich King came out, basically. So it's two expansions ahead of time. And then you notice the big amount of traffic it had, and so on. I mean, if you think it's a mistake, you'll notice Warlords of Draenor was 2005, and Warlords of Draenor is after Mists of Pandaria. It's the next expansion, so it was looked after even earlier, despite it coming out later. Here's another one. The first 3 spikes are when it was being advertised first as the first movie of 4. Those 3 small spikes in the middle. The second movie is the next one to the right, and the third one's the next one to the right, and the fourth one is the last one to the right. I looked up it in 2005 of June. Now this one I'm not sure about exactly, but Endless Taverns was a Google search term in 2005 of May, and the actual channel came out 1 or 2 years ago at most. It's a pretty good AI generated song, music channel, and so on. I'm not sure if this is much of a flex because I think he was actually working and big in Hollywood back in 2006. But Andrew Klavan is personally my favorite of the Daily Wire podcasters. More than Jordan Peterson, although Jordan Peterson is second place in regards to that, just for personal enjoyment. I think Jordan Peterson's been more helpful, but Andrew Klavan is close, whereas I enjoy Andrew Klavan more, and Jordan Peterson is close second in that regard. Grogu, the Baby Yoda of The Mandalorian, as you can see once again, searched January 2007. Doom the Dark Ages, You'll notice the big spike about half a year ago, but you'll also notice the spike in August 2005 once more. That's not exactly a. It's a little generic of a name in a sense, but once again, the pattern holds that somebody was searching up terms for things that did not exist back then. And this is what I'm getting at, is this is based on my memories, and I got a 70% hit rate. So out of the 45 pictures I'm going to show, I actually searched up 65 names based on my memory. And I missed, and 30% weren't real, apparently, but 70% were real. BB-8. BB-8 is a little different. There's a little bit of searching, and my friend told me that he's a funny robot, basically, or a soccer ball robot, and he's a character in the Star Wars sequels. He's basically a soccer ball with a Roomba that balances on the top of it, and it rolls around and does R2-D2 things, and kind of beeps and boops like R2-D2. Now this one is my personal favorite insult for Keir Starmer, and this is an outlier in the year looked up, but again, you'll notice the majority of lookups is around then. I think that's when he became a Crown prosecutor, but regardless, I didn't know who it was. I was just like, who's Queer Starmer? My friend told me to look it up. He just told me to look it up. Archcast. One of those people I watch a little bit. February 2007 was a big spike in search traffic for that. And then, he started that channel probably around 8 years ago at most. So that's like, that's about a 10-year difference again. V is another friend like Arch of Sargon of Akkad, who I also watch. And he called his channel V and changed it to Romanian TV, TVEE. It's pronounced Romanian TV. Clever little wordplay. About 3 years ago at most. So yeah. But he was part of Gamergate, I think. So that's 2014 fame, and I was looking it up 8 years in advance. This is a good example of what normal search traffic looks like versus looking something up before everyone else. And this is one of Sargon of Akkad's Lotus Eaters, presenters, hosts that worked for him for some time and then split off. And if you think that's a little bit of a stretch, I got another one to show you. Connor Tomlinson is also in the same position as Callum is in regards to being an ex-host of the Lotus Eaters podcast and was splitting off on his own. And the Lotus Eaters started around 2018 or something, or 2019. I can't remember which. 2018-ish. So, yeah. So you can see there's like a grouping of like weirdness going on here. Now here we get into some other obscurities in how it would look if someone was not prophetic, or like how it might look in a way if they weren't prophetic, even though they were. Now, the Callum search shows an oddity, but also regular traffic. So that one's a little weird. If we're saying that's prophecy, and pulling up the search records and saying like, "Oh, look, see, it's showing prophecy." But that one's paired with Connor Tomlinson as well, who's and there's like a that's how synchronicity works in some sense. Is it like it'll like you'll think to yourself, I wonder what 2 + 2 is. You know, someone will walk by and say the answer is 4, and you go, oh my god, they can mind read. No, they can't. But like God orders the world in such a way that things like that happen, and they spook you. Now, there's a anime that I saw recently, or like a synopsis of it, like a best cuts kind of storyline thing of it, called something like Master Swordsman is a Country Bumpkin. And as you'll see, there's 4 different spellings of the same name. And this is what it looks like when you can't figure out the spelling, basically. But like there's a common thread in this, and if you've watched the anime, then you'd know what I'm talking about as like, because I've seen multiple spellings of like the name. It's kind of like Gats and Guts. Yeah. That's an image of the actual anime's synopsis on Wikipedia. Um, you know, Beryl Gardenat. I think that's his actual spelling and so on. I think I searched 2 of these and got it wrong, or something like that. And then my friend was like, "Oh, screw it, I'll do it myself later," or something like that. So like that's kind of like a thing. Yeah. So there you go. There's another barrel. And yeah, 2006 was when I did it wrong, basically, and you can see where the you can see Beryl Garden Beryl Guardian Ant, a slight um, lost in translation of wording to spelling kind of situation back in 2006 ish, and then him like fixing it up later and so on. Um, there's one more. There's one more image that there's one more image I want to show you, that'll spook you a little bit. because Charlie Kirk would have been 12 at the time. And this is going to be my this is going to be the final image I show. But it's going to punch you a little bit. Check that out. Not only was it searched in 2004, but it was searched July 2006. Now, if you see me on September 5th to 6th, September 5th night time to September 6th morning, early morning, I made a post with the picture of George Floyd's search trends on Google search trends, predicting that the Antifa would kill Sargon of Akkad or Donald Trump would suffer a heart attack. Now, in a way, Donald Trump did suffer a heart attack, if you know what I mean, metaphorically. And it wasn't a British right-wing commentator and networker that got murdered by Antifa. It was an American one. So the American and the British right-wing commentator are there. The American dimension's there, and the right-wing commentator networker is there. It was just not either or of them. It was a guy who functions in America like Sargon of Akkad. But notice, in combination with all of these other weird search term patterns in my province, all grouped around 2004 to 2008, with a few exceptions outside that area, like 2 or 3 or 4 out of 45 pictures or something, and Charlie Kirk martyrdom. Why would anyone look up that someone is going to become a martyr who actually does? Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, oh my God, if you knew that, you could have prevented it or something. And the answer is, I totally forgot. I totally forgot. I had a vibe. I tried to warn. I thought it was going to be Sargon of Akkad, who would get murdered. And I was like warning about it, trying to protect him, maybe scare off anyone who did it. And I got it wrong. But then but a week or two after it happened, I was like, oh yeah, right, there was that search term and so on. And this is the frustrating part I've experienced, which is I don't have any prophetic capability whatsoever, because the only thing that happens is I experience something, basically, and then it's like, oh, right, my friend mentioned that. And the only proof I have of this is that I had a vibe that a right-wing commentator was going to get killed by Antifa, and I posted publicly about it. September 5th or 6th. Nighttime September 5th or early morning September 6th, like 2 a.m. kind of thing. But also, if you want to blame me for screwing up, just remember one more thing, which is the search term wasn't Charlie Kirk assassination. It was Charlie Kirk martyrdom, which implies, in a sense, through the search term, he was always meant to have that happen. And that spooks me, because I don't like that. I've been trying to prevent God from causing terrible things that I remember, like to me, myself, to other people, you know. Like I've been struggling for so long trying to prevent the decay of the world and so on, and like always one step behind my prophetic friends, predictions that they told me ahead of time. Struggling to remember everything that they said and so on, and I just can't do it. But this image's tour de force is my testimony to the fact that I knew prophetic friends. And Charlie Kirk's martyrdom was always meant to be, basically. You know, I might have screwed up in some sense trying to prevent it, but that's how it works for me all the goddamn time. It's ridiculous. The only two things that I've had knowledge of ahead of time are, or three things. One thing is I was told the world ends in 2025 unless you act. Talk to Sargon. You talked to him in 2014. The second one is you get yourself shot at a hospital. You don't have to, but I know you'll do the right thing, and so on. And I was like, okay, getting myself shot is the right thing to do, apparently. Yeah, and also it was mentioned this would get me my ex-girlfriend back. And the third thing, of course, is at some point my ex-girlfriend is going to come back, and we're going to live a good life together. So 2 out of 3 happening already that I had some slight foreknowledge of. And acted on and so on. And one more little promise to tie things up and bring me to the promised land of milk and honey and so on. But, and the fun thing is, the funnest thing of all is if you look up those search parameters on Google Trends with those exact phrases, you can actually verify that these images are honest. They're not doctored. So you don't have to rely on this slideshow. You can look at it and then search it up yourself. Of British Columbia, 2004 to present, and those exact search terms, the exact same search terms. Can't be one letter off. It has to be exactly the right ones. And yeah, it's goddamn. If you're freaked out by it, don't worry. It just means God's in charge and he means good things for us. That's the lesson I've learned over the years. But if you're in the mood of believing, then this is probably some spooky stuff in a sense, right? If you believe in God and prophecy for real, or gifts of the Holy Spirit and so on, then this might kind of tip you on the edge of saying, okay, that guy's experienced it. Now, what I'm not claiming is that I know the future. I've had prophetic dreams, but all the things I've had prophetic dreams of actually happened, and they were mostly personal stuff, basically, and that's it. I've had visions of the future, possibly, in some sense. I think those have basically all come to pass and so on, and they weren't, and the visions themselves, not the prophetic dreams, the 3 prophetic dreams that I had were very accurate, with minimal symbolism. But the visions were half true in some sense, and like missing context and so on. But I think they've all come to pass more or less and so on. I'm just here to point out that this is possible. That it's a real event that can actually happen. But this is what it looks like when it's real. And they didn't use like symbolic language like the cuckoo bird knocks at midnight, which means you go crazy and then hit the nuke buttons and the world goes kaboom and so on. Actually, that might be more literal than that might be kind of literal actually. But like they were like, you get shot at a hospital. You don't have to. You're going to remember this statement when you do get shot. and I know you'll make the right decision. And the reason I got shot is because I remembered him saying, I know you'll make the right decision even though you don't have to get shot, and I chose to get shot. And he said that's how you get your girlfriend back. So it's like, okay. You know. And as for talking to Sargon, I did talk to him a few times. Not much, just like a statement back and forth. 5 times over the years. Like ending about 4 or 5 years ago. So about 4 or 5, 6 years of 5 messages. But I initially sent him some stuff on leftist totalitarianism and anarcho-tyranny, or maybe not anarcho-tyranny, but leftist totalitarianism, and telling him roughly the outline of what we're facing today and what it takes to get out of it, and so on. You know, I laid the game plan out for basically what the right wing's been actually doing in some sense for some time. And I would not have sent it. I mean, I typed it up in the message, but I was going to delete it all because I was like, nah, that's just crazy talk. I'm just out to lunch. My prediction isn't that powerful. And then I remember my friend saying, the world ends in 2025 unless you act. Talk to Sargon of Akkad. You talked to him in 2014. And then I was like, oh, right. How did he know I might talk to him? He didn't even exist back then. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll press enter just in case and maybe save the world. I mean, that sounds a little schizo. You know, but, you know, in the context of these images, and you can verify them on Google Trends and search them yourself. You know, you don't have to rely on just my source. You can look at Google Trends and what it says. And I'm telling you, this is what I got based on my memories. Make sure you get every letter right, or else it won't work. On the strength of this prophetic record, I believe I was one of the pebbles that started what's called a good avalanche. And this is my victory lap in some sense. It might not be super convincing to everyone. I'm sure there's outliers of search terms and stuff like that and weirdness all across the world on some various things. But I'm reasonably willing to bet nobody else has this level of knowledge of that time period and the freakishness and the specificity and so on. So there's going to be other weird situations and search terms and stuff like that, but it's not going to be as concentrated as my collection. It's my guess. So I've got the prophetic record. Anyways, that's enough for today.